Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Sweet Tea Show. It's your girl Jaya Fire, and we back at it with another. How about I go back to my old saying with another? Hi, soul family. Welcome back to the Sweet Tea Show. It's your girl Jaya Fire, and welcome back to another. You know what? It's one of them mornings. I ain't even gonna stress myself. I'm gonna light up an incense real quick before we get started. And today's episode is going to be. Sorry, Princess. Today's episode is going to be about healing, of course, but like I said, we're taking a different approach to blessings. Yeah. We're taking a different approach to the show. So it's less of me being like, here's the lesson, here's what I learned, Nah, because I don't know it all. I'm not certified yet as a social worker. So I don't want to like give off, opinionated things, but I definitely want to give my experience. So my experience right now is healing my relationship trauma. I do what I can when it comes to healing relationship trauma, but some things are just so installed in you that you don't really know is still in there unless somebody else brings it up. And usually somebody else brings it up when you're in a relationship, right? So I feel like there's two things to really consider when hopping into a new relationship is being self-aware of that trauma, because it is real. Like, people don't speak on enough about how traumatizing relationships is. Like, they talk about childhood trauma, they talk about they mainly talk about childhood trauma and the trauma within yourself and what you need to heal and all these things that brought up within yourself, but they don't talk about the relationship trauma when you feel like checking a nigga phone just cuz, or you don't trust what somebody is saying. I realize I just cuss, but you don't realize what somebody is saying is the truth because you are used to people lying to you, or you don't really see how much a person loves you because you've never had real love before. So these things trickle down into relationship, okay? And me, as somebody that, used relationships as a reflective point, but really never processed it because I was never truly alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would be single and still talking to people, but still processing what happened to me in relationships, which is, it could be a good dynamic, but it still made me move more cold-hearted. Right? That's why I stayed single for so long, because I didn't want to be in a relationship. I was the one saying like, hey, I don't want to be in a relationship because F relationships at this point, right? But which I thought was healthy, because I'm like, okay, I'm not putting myself into a relationship knowing that, I'm not ready for it, but I was still putting myself into situationships that was just as toxic. So it made me cold-hearted, you know what I'm saying? It made me not trust people even more. It made me not look at love the same. It made me go into situations with the wrong intention. Like, I was doing it for the plot instead of saying, hey, like, I really feel like this person aligns with me. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't doing that. I was just doing it for the plot, knowing this person don't really align with me. Or I would hop into situationships to see what it brings out of me, what it brings out in me or out of me, and 9 times out of 10 it wasn't healthy, right? So to dive a little deeper into that, I haven't been in a relationship, like a real relationship, since high school. Going into a little into college, and after that, like, I got my heart broken bad. I went celibate for like probably, I don't know, 6-7 months or so, and then I didn't go celibate anymore, and I still wasn't doing relationships then. I thought I wanted relationships at the time, but the way I was moving, I wasn't really hopping into relationships. Like, I was just settling for anything, or I was just having fun, or whatever the case may be. So I realized, like, okay, relationships is not on my agenda right now. I'm not going to force a relationship like how I used to force a relationship, right? Got into dynamics that was either codependent, or it was just this distance about it. Like, it wasn't real love at the end of the day. I've never experienced real authentic love. So it traumatized my trust in men, in the reliability of people's actions and words. You know what I'm saying? So I was just going off of that. Like 3 years later, I still wasn't in a relationship. I was just in situationships at most, and it was just very surface based. Like, I've never got into depth with anybody before, right? And it affected how I seen relationships. It affected how I seen people. It affected how I seen myself. It affected how my morals was originally set up when I wanted a relationship. Like, why I wanted a relationship. I wanted a companionship. I wanted real love. I wanted to be equally yoked with somebody. I wanted to be, settled down, stable, all these things, right? And even though, like, that thought was always in the back of my head, it was never in the forefront. What the forefront was just like, okay, this is my revenge era, right? This is my do it for the plot era. This is, I'm single, you can't tell me nothing. This is, I'm outside type of era, right? So I'm just like picking anybody, I'm doing anything, I'm not really giving a F, I'm just, yeah. So it, like, being single was very cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely easier than being in a relationship, but the instability of it was getting to me. The inconsistency was really, like, getting to me. Like, it was showing up in my life. Like, I wanted to be more stable financially in my head and everything like that, but if you're being single and you're not being careful how you're being single, then it really causes, like, a lot of instability. And I wanted structure. Like, I'm in a point now where I want structure, I want stability, I want long-term things. I'm thinking long-term now, so that means I need to switch my mindset. So, you guys know me. Like, I've done pretty good, healing my childhood trauma, right? But I never tapped into my relationship trauma. Actually, no, I'm not gonna say that, because there was times that, like, I would end something with somebody and reflect on why I attracted them, what part of me made me feel safe and unsafe. Like, I would do things like that, but I never really put it into action. So if I hop into a situation with the next person, it's the same pattern all over again. Like, I know what the hell I have to do, but the actions are showing different, right? So I'm in a very stable, healthy relationship now, right? And trauma has blocked parts of my brain to recognize that this is actually different and deeper than the rest. Like, you don't have to project onto this person like you've done for the past things. Like, you can let go of the habits that you were doing before, get back on your ish, and actually trust this person, actually let down your guard. And I'm not talking about, like, let it down like it's all the way here and then you let it down. No, down, you know what I'm saying? Like, fully trust this person, fully let this person see you in your vulnerable spots fully, let this person see you for who you are, feel like you deserve love, like all these things I wasn't doing before. I was just carrying these patterns because, like I said, I was cold-hearted. Like, in order to be cold-hearted, you need to have your guard up. In order to be cold-hearted, you can't move a certain way, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta make sure that when this situation is over, I left untouched. Like, you're not gonna break my mother effing heart, okay? But it's different now. It's different now because this is a relationship that I see long term for myself. This is a relationship that gives me stability. This is a relationship where this man is literally everything. So I have to embody that energy. I have to embrace that, and I have to realize, like, this relationship is good for you. It's not like the rest, because you've never had a dynamic like this before. You've never been this close to somebody before. You've never been this deep with anybody before. Nobody has ever met you on the deepness that you've meet yourself, because I meet myself pretty deep, but to have somebody meet me as deep as I meet myself, that's deep. Because I'm a deep thinker. I've like to think of myself as somebody that likes psychology and philosophy and all these different things, and he's the same way. So it's just like, you could act like he don't see these parts of you, but he sees your shadow as much as you do. He understands you as much as you do, and vice versa. So it's just like healing those aspects of you so you could proceed in this relationship in a new way, a way that you've never done before. But in order to do that, you have to shed some skin. In order to do that, you have to let go of the trauma. So just learning how to let go of that, because it really can get in the way. Like, the honeymoon phase is cool. You're not going to feel it as much, because it would be surface level things like arguing about dishes or some shit like that. But the way the argument would take place and the things that would be said and how the dynamic is just like, oh, this is deeper than the dishes. This is deeper than what the hell we're actually talking about right now. So I had to realize, the difference between having conflict with him and the difference between what I'm used to, the conflict that I was used to. The conflict that I was used to was based on manipulation. The conflict that I was used to was based on projection and lack of accountability, right? I projected that on to him without realizing that, okay, it may sound similar in a sense where, like, okay, he may get triggered on some things and the actions may be similar out of emotions, but the manipulation is not there. Like, he's not trying to manipulate you right now. He's simply, in defensive mode because of his feelings, and that's totally normal because you are doing the same thing, right? It's not out of manipulation. He's not getting mad just because you're mad. You know what I'm saying? He's not getting mad because he doesn't see your points of view, whatever. He's getting mad because he's also protecting his own feelings, right? And I had to realize that, like, okay, cool. He's doing these things out of his trauma as well, because he is also human. He also goes through things. He also went through his childhood relationship stuff, whatever the case may be, and we are just seeing those things now. Like, out of the honeymoon phase, we are seeing this is actually this person's true feelings, his true intentions and stuff like that. So I had to stop with the projections, also stop with the projections of this relationship is going to be perfect and we're not going to argue. There's no such thing as not arguing in a relationship. There's no such thing as not having conflict in a relationship. There's no such thing as not having disagreements in a relationship, because at the end of the day, you two are still human. You have different points of view on things, and those points of views are not gonna match sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to agree to disagree. Sometimes it's okay to be like, hey, you have a different opinion, I have a different opinion. If we both want to stand in our different opinions, that's cool too. Like, you don't have to always agree on everything. That is unfortunately unhealthy if you decide to agree on everything and avoid conflict, because there's no such thing. It's not the argument itself, it's how do you argue, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do you argue? Are you arguing to shift blame on somebody else? Are you arguing to not take accountability? Are you arguing to be right instead of understanding the person? Like, how are you arguing? So we are learning how to argue, but in the midst of that, I have to learn how to heal certain parts of myself that projects onto him in the wrong light, because I never want to. I be feeling bad when I put him in that wrong light, because I know that's not him, and I know that's not my honest thinking. It's just trauma's on the forefront right now. Trauma's thinking for myself, and when I get into a triggered state, it's hard to really communicate what's really going on in my mind, and it's hard for me to see what it really is instead of what my trauma is telling me what it is. You know, those are two different things. When your trauma is telling you something, and when something is actually, it is what it is, and your trauma could just like see this and be like, no, red flag, now I'm pissed, now I don't want to speak, now I'm nonverbal, now don't even talk to me, now I want my space. And it's just like, no, bro, like that's taking away from what is actually happening right now, when it's making things worse. Yeah, so how I personally get to a point where I could see things from a clear view is, coming back into me, like taking a breather real quick, and journaling, and being, what I do when I journal is, like, when I'm triggered, I write down everything that I'm feeling in my journal. It could be the baddest cuss words in there. It could be the worst shit ever. Write that fuck down in your journal. Do not say it to your partner. Write it down in your journal. Get those feelings out. Get that trauma out. And then you come into a calm mind. Because that helps me be calm and actually think level-headed instead of in my emotions. Like, I try to not argue with my emotions in the forefront, because it never gets anywhere. Like, it never does. Or I try not to like hold things in, and then one day I just splat it all over the place, and it's just like, where the fuck did this shit come from? That is a pattern I had to let go as well, because I grew up where, my voice wasn't being heard, and emotions is weak, and don't speak what's on your mind because it's not valid. And it carried on to relationships too. Like, nobody actually heard what the F I had to say ever, but you're with a person that actually wants to hear what the F you have to say. But if you don't have the right emotional intelligence to express what you have to say, it will never come out right. And now the other person triggered because you said some shit that hurts their feelings out of your feelings, and then it's just all over the freaking place, right? Just a few things, and learning to accept when the other person is triggered too, because it could hurt. You know what I'm saying? It could hurt when somebody else is triggered, or it could hurt when somebody is rubbing you the wrong way, not purposely, but it could just be like how they react in their own way, and just like so it's a lot of things that I'm learning to deal with, because it's a lot to deal with that in a relationship, and still trying to maintain what's going on inside, right? And once I'm not happy inside, once I'm not pouring into myself, I cannot pour into external things. It's just impossible for me, because I would never do it in the right energy. Like, you're gonna get the side of me that just don't care, that is just like, I'm not here to resolve this and understand. I'm here to just argue because I'm tired, you know what I'm saying? So I do that by, like I said, going back to that original thought, I do that by like stepping into me real quick, and that's just how I do, right? There's other people that lean into it more. There's other people that back up. I'm the person that backs up, but I also had to learn that backing up doesn't mean withdrawing emotionally. which I thought it was at first, but that was just my defense mechanism when I had my wall up. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody do me wrong, my wall goes up even more. Somebody rubs me the wrong way, my wall goes up even more. So I make sure I walk out of this relationship, like I said, untouched. But in a relationship that's so deep, that's not possible. Like, even if you guys end, you're gonna end up touched. You know what I'm saying? So just coming up with the reality of that, like, you're gonna end up touched. You're gonna end up touched. You're gonna end up hurt. You know what I'm saying? People are going to hurt you regardless. These things are going to happen regardless, but it's how you alchemize it. It's how you deal with it with emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not only understanding your own emotions, but also understanding the other person's emotions. So you're not just reacting off of the surface level, like, oh my gosh, this person is mad right now, I can't deal with this. No, emotional intelligence is telling you, like, okay, this person is mad right now. Let me make sure that I don't get triggered, and let me stay grounded so I could know how to assess this problem. So I know how I can possibly calm this person down. Like, when your relationship, I've been independent for a very long time, but when you're in a relationship this deep, you can no longer hold space for that anymore. Like, yes, you could still be independent in certain things when it comes to, you know, like finances and how you dress and whatever, your own personality. But when it comes to dealing with emotions, that is the part where you can no longer be independent on. And I'm learning that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can no longer think of yourself emotionally in a relationship. You can't. It's no space for that. It's just like, you have to put your own emotional needs to the side, or you have to either mix it in with the other person. There's no in between. You can't think of yourself in an argument and then still try to understand another person. You have to either put those ideas together or put yours to the side. You know what I'm saying? And that involves putting down your ego, and that's kind of hard to do in the moment when you're triggered, or that's kind of hard to do in the moment when honestly you just don't want to, right? There's a lot of things in relationships that you have to compromise for yourself, and it's not saying like, okay, I'm compromising these things and I'm getting the shorter end of the stick. No, if you're getting the shorter end of the stick when you compromise on things, the relationship is not for you. But if you compromise on things and at the other side of whatever is going on, you guys both feel equally heard, you know what I'm saying, then there you go. So I would only think about myself sometimes when it comes to arguments, and just like, no, you gotta hear my side. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't give a fuck about anything else. Hear my side. But it's just like, no, we gotta hear each other's side. And in order to hear each other's side, you have to put down your ego, because in spaces that really hold love so deep, ego cannot fit in most of the time. And it's just knowing the time and place. I'm not saying let go of your ego on the whole, because your ego exists for a reason, right? But there's a time and place for certain things. There's a time and place for certain conversations. There's a time and place for when this should be solved and when it shouldn't be solved. Like, there's a time and place for everything. And I'm just learning that along the way, because I've never seen somebody argue in a healthy manner. I've never seen somebody handle conflict in a perfect way. I've never had a male figure to show me what real masculinity is. And we're not talking about, oh, just a provider and nothing else. Like, I've never experienced a provider in all aspects, and so I just don't know what it looks like. But I am dealing with a provider in all aspects, and it actually is very subtle than the masculine guy that just, walks around and be like, I'm the man, da da da. It could be easy for us to miss those signs when we're so used to the loud masculine man, and that's what we look for, so we bypass the good man. Or it's so easy for us to bypass when we haven't healed that part of ourselves that is in tune with our feminine energy, to really recognize when somebody else also holds that healthy feminine energy within them. Because we all have both. We all have masculine and feminine energy within us, and what creates a healthy person is creating that healthy balance within yourself. If you are not balanced within yourself to have that healthy dynamic, that healthy balance, that healthy yin yang, you're not going to recognize it in somebody else. You're not going to recognize when a subtle masculine man or whatever you're looking for is coming towards you. You're not going to recognize it. And I'm not just talking about like traditional like man and woman, like you're straight. It could go for anybody, you know what I'm saying? It could go for whoever you're interested in, but there is a certain dynamic that is so subtle. That's what you need to be looking for. I hopped into this relationship with my intuition on ding 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 ding. This is the subtle energy, but it's just like my ego is used to the loud and toxic energy, so it's just like I don't recognize this shit. This ain't what it is supposed to be. No, it is what it's supposed to be, but you need to heal that because it's not as loud as you think. You know what I'm saying? When you quiet down and actually listen to the energy, then it's just like, then you could actually be in tune with it. For real. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. But like I said, it's so subtle. But thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening. I will see you guys on the next episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, for more of these type of videos, because like I said, new structure. I'm trying to think of like, actually no, I'm gonna keep it as a sweet tea show, but we'll see. You know what I'm saying? I'm also trying to get into different dynamics in the future, but for now, I'm keeping it as a sweet tea show. But I'll see you guys later.